Do you ever feel like manifestation is just another thing on your to-do list that you don't have time for? Like your spiritual practice is something that you have to do? Honestly, you're not alone because I felt that way too. Something that's really changed my relationship with manifestation is blending it into my lifestyle so that no matter what I'm doing, I'm also manifesting. I call this manifestation as a lifestyle, and it's single handedly made the entire manifestation journey more enjoyable for me. And I've seen my desires show up with a lot more ease. Manifesting as a lifestyle has made manifestation go from feeling like a task to something I just naturally do because it's who I am. If you'd like to learn more about this, I've created a step by step guide for you. I'll link it in my show notes so you can check it out. You're listening to the Affirmation Addict podcast with Payal Corley. This podcast will teach you about the power of affirmations while making manifestation easy and accessible for you in order to enhance your spiritual consciousness. Thank you so much for being here, and now it's time to get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Affirmation Addict podcast. Today I'm so excited because this is inspired by a conversation I had with a friend, and it was actually already on my list of inspired episodes. So it was kind of a full circle because it was something I've been wanting to do, but then it came up in life, and so it was perfect timing. So this episode is, if I were to start over, what would I do differently, knowing what I know now? And I want to be very realistic with this because I understand what it's like to start the manifestation journey. I understand the exhilaration and the excitement and the thrill that comes with the idea of manifestation, and especially how it's portrayed, even how I portray it. Just the way it comes across. It is a very whimsical, magical, exciting, and dreamy concept, which is why I think so many of us love it. However, with that dreaminess, I think comes a little bit of unexpected frustration throughout the entire journey. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's felt like this. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's felt overwhelmed in the process, or feel like it's not working, or wondering what I'm doing wrong, or doubting whether it's even possible for me. So if any of those things have crossed your mind, this is a really good episode for you, even if you're not a quote unquote beginner in manifestation. These are just some things that really help me eliminate and decrease those kind of pain points and those frustrations that are very normal along the manifestation journey. However, if you are a beginner, this episode is also going to be super helpful for you because I hope that by me sharing this, you can not necessarily avoid the mistakes, but bypass some of the time it took me to learn these lessons. So two very distinct things. I know I cannot learn your lessons for you. I know you have to learn them on your own, and I fully respect that divine timing. However, hopefully me sharing a little bit of what I would do differently and some of my lessons will really, really help you move forward. So my first tip, and actually throughout this entire episode, I will be sharing little bits and pieces of my story. So if you're new or you haven't heard too much about my story, this will be a really fun episode for you as well. So the first thing I want to share with you, my first tip is, if I were to start over, I would find someone who is really resonant with me. I would find someone who is living and breathing a version of myself that I could see myself tapping into, and very closely listen to what they have to say. Why I'm saying this is because I feel like, I don't know if this is just me, but when I'm interested in a topic or I learn about a topic, I research every single person, I listen to everything, and that can ultimately lead to a lot of confusion. I'm not saying one person needs to be your go-to or your guru. I hate that word. Don't worry, that's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is, honestly, realistically, pick 1, 2, or 3 people that really embody the energy, the versions of yourself, the different lifestyles that feel very inspiring to you, and you'll feel it in your heart that they connect with you, and really follow them closely in the sense of listen to what they have to say. Try applying some of their teachings rather than getting super stuck in trying to make sure you learn every single detail. Because I know with the internet, we can all scour the internet. I know we can all get all of our questions answered, but still feel confused. And that's probably one of those helpless states you can be in. So to avoid all of that, I really invite you to find those few people. I picked 3, and where I'm going with this is I had 3 people who were so inspiring on my manifestation journey, and they actually weren't influencers, because when I started my journey, influencers were not a thing. Maybe these people were the influencers of spirituality back then, but social media wasn't a thing. I started my journey when I was just 12 years old. All credit to my mom for introducing it to me. So for me, it was authors and books. And so Louise Hay, she is kind of the pioneer of affirmations. So much of my inspiration comes from her work in affirmations. And because it was so streamlined, she was only focused on affirmations. It really helped me understand my relationship with affirmations, and so many things manifested from that. The other is Abraham Hicks. So she or they are basically a spirit guide that come through this person named Esther Hicks, and she writes books, and they're amazing. So very, very beautiful concepts as well. They have a lot of different perspectives and very all-encompassing law of attraction perspectives. So those are my two go-tos for probably the first 8 to 9 years of my journey. Then social media started becoming a thing, and I started following different influencers, but I noticed a big gap, which is actually why I showed up on social media through the support of Tom, because I felt like there was a really big gap in accessibility and approachability in the manifestation and law of attraction space. It felt very intangible. So my goal was to make all of these teachings, which I did not create, I learned from people like Esther Hicks and Louise Hay and all of these different spiritual leaders. I was able to learn and see those results, but I wanted to share that forward in a way that felt a little bit more relatable. So that is my biggest invitation to you is, if it's people who are very established in the spiritual space, great. If it's influencers, great. Whoever you resonate with that you feel is honest and authentic and very resonant with you, try to not get into kind of analysis paralysis and try and find the best person. Just find people who hit home to you. They'll probably show up in your life in the most random ways, and get very, very familiar with them. Just learn their teachings, understand their language, and listen to their stuff on repeat, because the more and more you hear those things, the more and more they'll be ingrained into your mind. It's super powerful stuff. So that's tip number 1, because I think if I started my journey on social media, I think I would have been very confused, because there's so much information being thrown at you. There's so many different contradictory perspectives and approaches that by just picking 1, 2, or 3, it felt much more possible. It felt like I could see the patterns, I could see the overlaps and make my own sense of it. So that was very inspiring. And that's actually something I would continue doing. I actually did it that way. So that was one thing I would absolutely stick to. Hi, beautiful friend. I hope you're enjoying this episode. I wanted to hit pause for 15 seconds and share with you about my spiritual membership I created to help you raise your vibration and manifest with ease. I created Affirm It so you can have access to all, and I really mean all, of the spiritual tools you need to step into your higher self and watch your dreams manifest with ease. If you're really ready to dive into your spirituality and connect with your highest self, I invite you to join the Affirm It membership. More details are in the show notes if you're interested. And now let's jump back in. The second part I would do differently, and I still need to practice this, is stop over consuming and just start practicing. There is not that one statement, that one YouTube video you're going to watch, that one podcast you're going to hear. There's not that one thing that's going to just absolutely flip your world and make all of your dreams come true. That is going to come from practice. That's going to come from you embodying it. Maybe there's that one thing, that one statement that will like kind of flip a switch and make you want to practice. That is possible, but no one and nothing can do the work for you. And that is something I tried bypassing for such a long time. I tried shortcutting the work. I tried finding quick ways out. I tried skipping it and doing it cerebrally and not living it. And the one thing I would tell you is, don't waste so much time trying to learn. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the first tip. Don't spend so much time trying to learn. Spend more time trying to embody and practice and apply, even if you're doing it wrong, because we wait until we feel like we're so confident in the process. We feel like we know it perfectly. We wait. However, you're never going to know unless you try. And I know it's so cliche, that's so elementary sounding, very cheesy, but that is one thing I wish I did differently. I feel like I could have saved a few years of my journey if I just got gutsy and practiced. And now that is why my whole new mission now is to start helping you just put it into practice. We all know the basics. We've all heard of the basics of manifestation by this point. So now it's just time for you to practice. And that is a part that probably feels the most confusing. So my new mission and my evolved mission is to help you live out that practice and feel confident in your practice and clarify that practice, because without practice, you won't make that much progress. And I invite you to stop feeling like you're missing some sort of information. Don't FOMO yourself out of your manifestation progress. Allow yourself to trust that what information needs to come to you will. However, so much information is also within you. We feel the need that someone's going to tell us that perfect formula. Someone's going to tell us exactly how it works. And I'm sure there's guides and structures out there that will help you. But at one point, there has to be an enough is enough. I have taken hundreds of courses. I've read every manifestation book out there. I've taken so many courses. I think I just said that. Sorry for repeating myself. But I have consumed so much in the pure hopes and pure fear of missing one piece of information. And I can tell you wholeheartedly, and maybe I can't teach you this lesson. Maybe you do have to learn this for yourself, but hopefully this will help. At one point, you'll start to feel more frustrated than excited to learn. And when you feel more frustrated because it's not working, that's when it's time for you to just put it into practice, even if it's messy, even if you don't feel right, even if you don't trust yourself completely yet. That's your indicator that you just have to start, because I spent so much time thinking I was missing something, and that one thing would manifest if I just learned a new piece of information. But ultimately, it's because I wasn't embodying and I wasn't practicing everything I've been taught. So instead of consuming new information, maybe repeat old information that really struck home for you and try that route instead. So that's tip number 2. Stop over consuming, and you have to start practicing. I get it. We feel like there's that one piece of free information out there that's going to click differently, but it goes so much deeper than free versus paid versus who's teaching it to you and how they're teaching it to you, and more about you actually putting it into practice. And so that is so underrated. And I fully wish I shifted my journey in that way, because I think it would have helped me progress even further and faster. However, I also understand divine timing, and I trust that completely. The last thing I want to share with you, and this is another thing I wish I did earlier on, and I'm just starting to do it, but I still struggle with it, is I wish I could trust myself more along this journey. And this kind of goes into the whole idea of authority and trusting everybody else more than you trust yourself, because we feel like we're not experts. But when it comes to manifestation and spirituality, you are the expert. You have everything you need within you, and everything you need to learn, know, and experience is already within you. We just haven't explored it and tapped into it yet. And that's what that statement means, is trusting yourself to learn it, even if it has no clarity on how it's going to come. Trusting yourself that you know from within and you'll get yourself to where you need to be is probably the most empowering thing you can do on your journey, is build self-trust. And this is why, if you've worked with me before, you know I never leave out the component of building a relationship with yourself and your self-concept, because without self-concept, no manifestation is possible. Without a sense of self, no manifestation can come into your life, because ultimately all of our manifestations, all of our desires are just reflections of the way we see ourselves. And so I firmly believe if we can trust ourselves more on the journey, give ourselves more freedom to trust that maybe, for example, maybe I'm sharing a certain thing, but you're like, no, I think I know a little bit better. Trust that. You are more of an expert in your own life and your own destiny than anyone ever can be, no matter what. If they're an astrologer, if they're a spiritual leader, whoever it is, you know best for you. And I wish I respected that and honored that way early on in my journey. I actually grew up around lots of different spiritual mentors. Some of them I felt so unsafe around, but I still respected and listened to them because I felt like I had to. And now that I understand the world better and I know better, I realize that that was me and my own inner being saying, no, like this is not safe. This is not okay. And this is not true. This is not in alignment with your authentic self. But I felt like I was too little to honor that, especially if my mom and my parents were, actually my mom specifically was very believed in that. I felt like I had to believe in that. So give yourself permission to create your own set of beliefs. Find people who really make your heart feel light, not heavy, not scared. Feel very seen and heard, and like you're safe on the journey. That is someone you want to learn from. If they make you feel unsafe, it might not be the best fit for you. And not saying they're a bad person, it just might not be the right fit for you. So give yourself permission to trust yourself more than anyone on the journey, more than any expert, more than any authority. You are your own authority. And I wish I knew that earlier in life. So many things would shift or might have gone a little quicker. But once again, I don't regret anything, just from a reflective state and from the sake of this podcast and what I would do differently. That is a huge thing I would do differently. Because I think in the manifestation world, we don't trust ourselves to give creative freedom. That's why play and being playful in manifesting with my hair care or manifesting with my skincare and my food and my water is so important to me, because that feels fun, that feels authentic, that feels realistic to me, and it's something I hadn't seen much before, but it works so well for me. So trusting your creative approach and your creative way of embodying spirituality and manifestation, make it your own. And that's where you can start to build that trust with yourself and also enjoy the journey even more. Because sometimes if we feel like we're following someone to a T and we're listening to everything they're saying, it can become like a student-teacher relationship, when in reality, you want a deeper relationship with yourself. So I hope this episode was helpful, and thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If this episode resonated with you, it would mean the world to me if you could rate and review the podcast and share it on your social media, so I know to keep creating episodes that are inspiring you to manifest. I'm so genuinely grateful for the time we shared today, and I'd love for you to join the community by following @AffirmationAddict on Instagram. To continue diving into spirituality and manifestation, head over to my website, affirmation-addict.com. Until next time, I'm sending you so much love and so much healing energy.